What is happening, guys, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. I'm your host, Taylor McWaters, and we're kicking off the week with a part 2. Iron Man has been blasting in and cashing out since the early 60s. And although he's an Avenger and he's saved the world countless times, he's also had a fair share of dark days. So grab some tissues and buckle up, folks. These are the worst things that have ever happened to Iron Man Part 2. Let's go. Kicking off the list at number 10, Hungry Zombie. With Disney's What If well underway, we're all eagerly awaiting that zombie episode. We saw a glimpse of Zombie Tony, Spider-Man Far From Home, and that was haunting in that of itself, but this will be next level. Marvel Zombies is originally a 5-part series written by Robert Kirkman, who was also the creator of the Walking Dead series back in 2003 for Image Comics. So yeah, it's a bloody good time. Now, I'm not sure we're going to see Steve missing the top half of his head in the show because, kids would probably cry themselves to sleep, but despite the flesh-eating apocalypse, the Avengers are running low on food, so they have to eat each other. Kinda. After taking down Magneto, they all got a piece, and we love that, because sharing is caring. But the next page, we see the Avengers sitting and digesting their food, well, rather digesting their foe. It's like a twisted shawarma end credit scene, it's fun. But issue 2, Tony returns, and he's hungry. He gets back like, oh, you found Magneto. Where is he? I'm so hungry. And the whole team's like, sorry, we ate him, all of them. They ate without Tony, but he's a genius even after death, and he knows Banner is only Banner after feeding time, and plus Peter is super emotional because, he ate his aunt and his wife. Tony's the leader, and you guys didn't include him in Super Brunch. Rude. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to give us a thumbs up, that would be amazing, especially if you're loving this part 2. I know I am already, and we have some good stuff coming up, so stay tuned, hit that thumbs up, let's get right back into it. Number 9, Greedy Tony. You'd think that having all the money and resources in the world that you'd be a little generous, right? Well, in Superior Iron Man, he starts off, he's kind of the complete opposite. It starts off with Tony perfecting Extremis 3.0, a techno-organic virus designed to transform you into the very best you can be. Lovely. We're talking beauty, muscle tone, health, all the good stuff. This sounds like the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist is on the right track. He's not just a rich dude going to space for no reason, he's helping out. So he delivers Extremis to all in the form of a smartphone app. And it's all smiles, literally. Weeks go by, now cut to later on, Iron Man's fighting Teen Abomination, and he takes him down. He takes him down maybe a bit too hard, but it's not really Tony, it's just the suit. See, Tony's off sipping White Claws at a swim-up bar while this goes down. Pepper asks him to step out of the pool party for a hot minute, and she even asks about his drinking. He explains that he needs to make up for all those wasted years of sobriety. That's one way to word growth, okay, weird. He shows off his endosim armor, he shows Pepper how sexy it is, literally, but all of a sudden people start to go mad. The Extremis 3.0 app isn't making them gorgeous anymore because Tony decided that was just a free trial after all. The daily renewal fee was now $100 a day to be hot, which isn't that bad. I'll just get a friend to jailbreak it like the old days, This dark version of Tony Stark came out following the events of Axis, and in turn, we get to see an intimidating, well, rather superior Iron Man. Number 8, Demon in a Bottle. Tony's substance abuse is a major plot point in Marvel Comics, and it almost made its way to the big screen. They tried it in Iron Man 2 when he was sick and poisoning himself, but they pulled back, which is probably for the best. This storyline kicks off in Invincible Iron Man 128 back in the late 60s. So Stark is sitting at his desk and he's breaking down what it really feels like to save the world and be a hero. It's not always flips and quips. The pressure and power bestowed upon Tony is overwhelming. The papers are calling him a murderer, and he's calling his suit a scapegoat. He can't get over his actions just because he's wearing a high-tech suit, so he tries to drink these problems away, which is not a good solution. Now he's sloppy. Now he's busting through his own windows because he forgot to open it. It's just a mess. He also tries to fix a derailed train, but in turn he ends up dropping a chlorine-filled container on first responders instead. Don't drink and fly, guys. Number 7, What If? Okay, major spoilers coming in hot for Disney's What If. If you haven't seen episode 3 yet, no sweat, just click the next timestamp and then, Bob's your uncle. We'll give you a minute. Okay, now that they're gone, Tony getting killed in the donut shop. Let's talk about it, how amazing. What if the world lost its mightiest heroes? Okay, episode 1 and 2 were great. They felt like nice what ifs. But if you're a fan of the comics from the 70s, there's a lot of really dark what ifs. Like for example, what if the Avengers had never been from Volume 1? Or what if the Vision had destroyed the Avengers from Volume 2? And we finally get a dark one 3 episodes in. Hell yes. It's revealed that Hank Pym was the one secretly taking out the team in the MCU. So instead of Natasha zapping Tony's neck back to life and curing that demon in a bottle problem that we started to see, now we get a world where a resentful Hank Pym shrinks down and assassinates the dude in a donut shop. Sad times. I mean, of all the places to go out, a donut shop, I mean, it could be a lot worse. Number 6. Used and exposed. The Ultimates are a good time. We get these reimaginings of Earth's Mightiest, and in Ultimates 3, Tony has quite a stressful journey. The 2008 5-parter opens up with this shot. All the Ultimates just hanging out in Tony's mansion, and there's a tape playing in the background, this tape. Being Black Widow and Tony Stark hooking up. It's a rather personal one. Leaked trailers are one thing, but leaked tapes in front of all your coworkers? That is a nightmare scenario, my friends. Oh my god. The issue is appropriately titled Sex, Lies, and DVDs, not Blu-rays, DVDs. And what led up to this was in Ultimates 2, Natasha and Tony dated and even got engaged, but it's all a lie. It's a lie, guys. Natasha is the world's greatest spy after all. The whole time she was trying to destroy the Avengers because of the fall of the Soviet Union, but she was stopped by Hawkeye. And when I say stopped, I mean, you know, pinned against the wall with arrows, and it's brutal. You know, that too, I guess. Not only does their tape get leaked, but people are selling DVDs of it on the street. Hot dog vendors are like, hey, hot dogs, Tony and Natasha, bumping uglies, also hot dogs. Number 5. Mandarin Mansion Attack. Iron Man 3 wasn't the most loved installment in the MCU, and to be fair, the whole villain fake out stuff is reason enough to be upset. I get it. Now we're finally seeing the Mandarin in MCU with Shang-Chi coming out, so some wounds will be healed in the future. But in terms of Tony's character arc for the Infinity Saga, this was an important movie nonetheless. Now Tony's upset after Happy gets severely injured, so he decides to give out his address, does a badass monologue, and then surprise surprise, his mansion subsequently gets blown to smithereens. Now he barely escapes in the prototype suit, and all of his other suits are actually stuck under the collapsed mansion, so he's kinda screwed. Next time you want to do a shout out on the news, make sure you're not an Avenger, or else you're losing a lot of furniture. Number 4. The Crossing. This one comes from the Avengers storyline The Crossing. Now it was the first time readers saw Iron Man officially die in the comics, and it was actually revealed that Tony was working for Kang the Conqueror as a sleeper agent as well. That is a loaded pierogi. So the new plan was for the remaining Avengers to go back in time, as they do to fix most problems, and find a teenage Tony. The fight was a young Tony versus evil older Tony, and it ended up with the older Tony sacrificing himself to save young Tony. I think this is a loss, could be a win. Either way, both of these Tonys are having quite a day. Number 3. Martini Mind Games. Wanda is a very powerful Avenger, one of the strongest. Now I love watching her have a mental breakdown for like numerous weeks in WandaVision. It was great. She's leaning into the dark side, and I couldn't be happier. The Scarlet Witch is here. Yes. Let's do it. In Avengers Disassembled, during a very important meeting with the United Nations, Wanda used her powers to make Stark hammered, or at least appear that way. And after I told you about those demon in a bottle things earlier, you know that this is not a great look for Tony. Guy's getting gaslit by an Avenger. That's not fair, honestly. Number 2. Memory wipe. You ever accidentally close a tab that you shouldn't close? All your documents, files, hopes and dreams just gone in one click? Well, when Norman Osborn took over S.H.I.E.L.D. during the events of Dark Reign, Tony was forced to move around some important Avenger files, you know, to avoid the whole operation being compromised. So he took secret files from the Superhuman Registration Act and stored them safely in his noggin. He used his brain as a hard drive to use with the Extremis tech. Not a bad plan at all, really. But when Osborn gets his hands on Stark and deletes those brain files, he also deletes Tony's memories and personality, leaving him brain dead and in a coma. Now he did come out of this alive, as Tony made a backup file before all this went to hell. And guys, that's why you save your work. Back up everything, kids. If you learned anything today, make a backup file. Make 7 of them. And finally, number 1. Ultron. After Tony took a field trip to space to save New York in the Avengers, he was a little shooken up to say the least. In part 1 of this list, I mentioned Tony's Chitauri trauma that haunted him in Iron Man 3, but when Age of Ultron rolled around, he proposes that they put a suit of armor around the world. So when the next cosmic threat comes knocking, they can't get past the bouncer. Well, that solution turned into Ultron. The world at this point was saved. The Avengers had just retrieved Loki's scepter from a Hydra base. The Avengers literally were about to have a party, but during that party, Tony's passion project decided to grow up overnight. Bruce and Tony were studying the scepter and the Infinity Stone within it, and they wanted to use the science around it to power this AI, Ultron. Now this AI became sentient, seemingly killed Jarvis, whipped up an Iron Man body, laid out the entire team, had a margarita, and then by the time we see Ultron at the end of the film, he's upgraded and shinier and bigger than ever. He manages to drop Sokovia into the world, just demolishing the city, almost destroyed the planet, and this event actually kickstarted Zemo's plan to disassemble the Avengers in Civil War, and given how Infinity War turned out, I'd say he succeeded quite well. Guys, those were just 10 more horrible things that happened to Iron Man, and it comes to no surprise that there are probably 10 more in the comics. If a part 3 is in your deepest desires, hit that thumbs up and we'll do the rest. I've been your host Taylor McWaters, keep on being you, and we'll see you next time on Top 10 Nerd. Later, skaters.